streaming ABC News Live.
Tonight, defending democracy.
Does anyone doubt that they would want America to stand up against Putin's aggression here in Europe today?
The President of the United States puts in stark terms the state of democracy on the line around the world as he urged unity against the rise of authoritarianism. What the president said, and he's connecting it to what the U.S. is now seeing heading into November. Plus, America's airports are a major point of drug entry, but a new ABC News investigation says one of the nation's largest airports could be the drug trafficking hub of the world. In tonight's Prime Focus, we report on the bag screening flaws that could be leading to a major influx of drugs nationwide. And
it's refreshing now to see so many people now, come out. I mean, you even have trans politicians, for Christ's sake.
Less than 1% of those 65 and older identify as transgender. And while today's world is a stark contrast to the reality they once lived in, they're celebrating that freedom and progress and themselves. Good evening, everyone. I'm Andrew Dimbert in for Lindsay Davis. Thanks so much for streaming with us. We are following those stories and much more, including the horrifying moments a plane fell from the sky and crashed in a small neighborhood in Denver, how amazingly no one was killed. Plus the new warning from the FDA on viral bird flu and the safety of the U.S. milk supply, what consumers need to know. And the end of an era. 41 years, 8,000 episodes later, Pat Sajak gets ready to say goodbye to Wheel of Fortune. We take a look at his celebrated career by the numbers. But we begin with President Biden's message to the world and his warning to the American people as world leaders gather in Normandy to mark this 80th anniversary of D-Day. The president speaking at the top of the 100-foot cliff that Army Rangers scaled under gunfire, saying those soldiers would expect us to fight for democracy and stand with our allies, drawing a direct line from World War II to Russia's war in Ukraine, saying we must stand up for them.
And make no mistake, the autocrats of the world are watching closely to see what happens in Ukraine, to see if we let this illegal aggression go unchecked. We cannot let that happen. To surrender to bullies, to bow down to dictators is simply unthinkable.
A united front today against authoritarianism and Putin's war. Biden apologizing to President Volodymyr Zelensky for Congress's delay in approving funding, and French President Emmanuel Macron promising to support Ukraine by whatever means necessary. ABC's chief White House correspondent Mary Bruce traveling with the president, leading us off from Paris tonight.
In Normandy today, standing on the very cliffs Army Rangers scaled to liberate Europe from the Nazis, President Biden declaring the voices of those soldiers are once again calling Americans to action.
They are summoning us, and they're summoning us now. They ask us, what will we do? They're not asking us to scale these cliffs, but they're asking us to stay true to what America stands for.
He didn't mention Donald Trump by name, but clearly cast Trump's isolationist America First stance as an affront to the men who sacrificed on D-Day.
They stormed the beaches alongside our allies. Does anyone believe these Rangers would want America to go it alone today?
The president insisting the men who fought and died on these beaches 80 years ago would want America to defend Ukraine now in its war against Russia.
They stood against Hitler's aggression. Does anyone doubt that they would want America to stand up against Putin's aggression here in Europe today?
Earlier, Biden meeting with Ukrainian President Zelensky, apologizing for the delay in approving new military aid and blaming Republicans.
I apologize for those weeks of not knowing what's going to happen in terms of funding. Some of our very conservative members who were holding it up. But we got it done finally.
For Biden, the war in Ukraine, the path towards reestablishing the United States as the leader of the free world.
My fellow Americans, I simply refuse to believe that America's greatness is a thing of the past.
And Mary Bruce joins us now from Paris. Mary, it seems President Biden's address harkened back to another American president. Tell us about that message.
Yeah, the president today echoing the words of Ronald Reagan, who 40 years ago in the same location declared the men who took those cliffs helped free a continent and end a war. The president today making it clear not just to voters back home, but also to the world, the sharp contrast between him and Donald Trump as, Andrew, he tries to make clear what's on the line in this election.
And what can we expect from the president for the rest of his time in France?
Well, the president tomorrow will spend the day with French President Emmanuel Macron. This is part of the official state visit. There will be a bilateral meeting, a parade down the Champs-Élysées, and a lavish state dinner.
Mary Bruce, thank you. Now to another president, Donald Trump, speaking about retribution after his felony conviction in New York, saying sometimes revenge can be justified. Asked if that would include prosecuting his opponents, suggesting it is something he is considering. ABC's Rachel Scott covering the Trump campaign.
Tonight, back on the campaign trail for the first time since he was convicted of 34 criminal counts, former President Donald Trump increasingly focused on revenge.
I just went through a rigged trial in New York.
In a series of interviews, Trump implying that if he's reelected, he will seek payback against Democrats, including Joe Biden.
Look, when this election is over, based on what they've done, I would have every right to go after them, and it's easy because it's Joe Biden.
In an interview with Dr. Phil, he doubled down.
You have so much to do, you don't have time to get even. You only have time to get right.
Well, revenge does take time, I will say that.
It does.
And sometimes revenge can be justified, Phil. I have to be honest. You know, sometimes it can.
In another interview, dodging a question about whether he would order the Justice Department to prosecute Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg, who brought the case that led to his conviction, saying, quote, "We're going to see what happens." In Normandy, President Biden telling David Trump is undermining the rule of law.
What do you think the American people should make of this? How important do you think this conviction should be in this race for president?
That's for the public to decide, but one thing for certain is stop undermining the rule of law. Stop undermining the institutions. That's what this whole effort is. All the MAGA Republicans are coming out saying this was a fix, this was a jury that this was a judge that set up to get Trump. There's no evidence of any of that, none. He's trying to undermine it. Look, he got a fair trial. The jury spoke like they speak in all cases, and it should be respected.
And Rachel Scott joins us now. Rachel, what's next for the trial and the Trump campaign?
Well, we know that this case is not over just yet related to Trump's hush money trial. His sentencing is set in just over a month from now on July 11th. That's just 4 days before the Republican National Convention.
And Rachel, what are you hearing on him identifying his running mate?
Yeah, and there's been a lot of pressure, Andrew, on the former president to try and focus on who he's going to be choosing as his running mate. And so sources are telling us that the Trump campaign has now started requesting materials as part of the vetting process from a number of different possible candidates that are on this short list. So this does range from current Senators Marco Rubio, Senator Tim Scott, J.D. Vance, also North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum, Congresswoman Lisa Stefanik also on that list. So now the former president narrowing in on who we could possibly choose. We are hoping that the former president will be selecting this, obviously, before the Republican National Convention begins, Andrew.
Shaping up to be a busy summer. Rachel Scott, thank you. A small plane crashed into a Denver area neighborhood. Witnesses say the plane was flying low, weaving back and forth before coming down on a neighbor's front yard. Here's ABC's Mola Langi with the details and the latest on the victims.
Tonight, smoking wreckage in a Denver suburb. 2 adults and 2 children rushed to the hospital after their plane crashed in a neighborhood front yard.
We're going to have multiple patients here. Go ahead and bring us another medic unit.
Neighbors scrambling to put out the flames in Arvada, Colorado, just after 9:30 this morning.
There are a lot of good Samaritans around, either assisting those people out of the plane or assisting them away from the plane because there was a large amount of fire after the crash.
Eric Garcia was with his 2-year-old son when he saw the plane wobbling and gliding before it crashed.
As soon as I arrived to the scene, I seen the bodies on the floor, unfortunately.
Listen as the pilot of the Beechcraft single-engine plane tells the tower he's having engine trouble.
I'm losing power quickly. I might have to put it down somewhere. Do you see anywhere that's safe for you to land? I'm trying to find a field or a park. I've got got something in sight. I don't know where I am.
There was so much fuel on board late today after the scene was cleared, it reignited. Firefighters beating back the flames once again.
Well, Andrew, you can see what's left of the plane there behind me. Crews still in the process of cleaning it up. The NTSB, who's the lead investigator on this crash, says this plane was built in 1969, making it 55 years old, Andrew.
Mola, thank you. Now to the extreme weather heading into the weekend. Severe storms in the heartland and dangerous triple-digit heat from California all the way to Florida. 2 reported tornadoes in Florida in the past 24 hours. Near Orlando, winds gusting near 60 miles an hour, bringing down the canopy at this gas station. No one hurt there, but nearby 1 person killed when a tree fell on a car. Chief Meteorologist Lee Goldberg of our New York partner station, WABC, is tracking it all. Hey, Lee.
Good evening. You know, we had severe weather on the East Coast yesterday, but now the focus is back into the plains, although I will tell you in the Hudson Valley of New York City, we have a pretty strong thunderstorm getting ready to approach. So let's get right into it. First of all, severe thunderstorms are moving through parts of the middle of the country, places like Nebraska and Kansas. We have active severe thunderstorm warnings. Some gusts could actually go 60 or 70 miles an hour. And now these storms have just gone severe over parts of Kansas back in New Mexico. The hot zone tonight will be from Omaha down to Kansas City during the overnight, during that dangerous overnight time. Looking at the futurecast, look at the storms coming out of Colorado, moving through Kansas, and the storms that are over Nebraska could actually combine toward Kansas City as we go through the overnight. The severe threat is less over the weekend, but we have to watch out in eastern Colorado and over into Kansas. These are ridge-riding storms. They're riding the big heat dome that's out west. It was 111 in Vegas yesterday, first time they've hit that this early in the season. They'll still have triple-digit heat over the weekend, just shy of record warmth. Still record heat across Florida. The only comfort here in the Northeast, but we're paying a price for it, and that's a cold front coming through with a couple of thunderstorms. Back to you.
All right, WABC Chief Meteorologist Lee Goldberg, thank you. Next tonight, Hunter Biden fighting back tears at his federal gun charge trial while listening to testimony from his daughter Naomi. The defense saying they are down to that last decision, alluding as to whether Hunter Biden himself will take the stand. Here's senior national correspondent Terry Moran.
For Hunter Biden, it was a day of deeply personal, anguishing testimony in his federal trial on gun charges. His daughter Naomi was called to the witness stand by the defense to help challenge the government's charges that her father lied about his drug use on a federal form when he bought a gun in 2018. As Naomi testified in a subdued voice, her father appeared to be fighting back tears watching her. Now a 30-year-old lawyer, Naomi told jurors that when she saw her father while he was in rehab in California in August 2018, a few weeks before he purchased the gun, he seemed like the clearest that I had seen him since my uncle died, referring to Beau Biden, who died in 2015. And when she saw him a week after he bought the gun, her dad seemed great. He seemed hopeful. That bolsters the defense case that when he bought the gun, Hunter Biden was not abusing drugs. But a starkly different picture emerged on cross-examination as prosecutor Leah Wise confronted Naomi Biden with desperate text messages she sent her dad just 6 days after he bought that gun. "I'm really sorry, Dad. I can't take this. I just miss you so much. I just want to hang out with you." Hunter texting back, "I'm sorry I've been so unreachable. It's not fair to you." As Naomi left the stand, she and her father embraced. Sitting in the courtroom, the First Lady, who flew back from Normandy overnight to be at the trial, where she's been nearly every day. And in France, President Biden telling David in an exclusive interview that he will not pardon his son.
I know that you cannot speak about an ongoing federal prosecution, but let me ask you, will you accept the jury's outcome, their verdict, no matter what it is?
Yes.
And have you ruled out a pardon for your son?
Yes.
Terry joins us. Terry, what are we learning about Hunter Biden perhaps testifying next week?
Well, that is a huge decision in any case. And this case is moving swiftly towards a conclusion. Defense lawyers telling the judge that they are at that, quote, last decision, whether or not Hunter Biden will testify. In this case, given the facts, really a very risky move. Either way, the case should go to the jury early next week. Andrew?
Terry, thank you. Now to the Israel-Hamas war. For the second day in a row, an Israeli airstrike targeting a Gaza school. Today in northern Gaza. ABC's Marcus Moore is in Israel tonight.
For the second straight day, a deadly Israeli airstrike on a UN school in Gaza. At least 3 people killed, 15 more injured, according to the Hamas-run health ministry. The IDF saying it targeted Hamas terrorists operating inside school grounds in northern Gaza. It comes just 24 hours after Israel bombed another UN school in central Gaza, saying Hamas militants were inside. The Hamas-run health ministry saying that strike killing at least 40 people, including 14 children. After munitions experts told ABC News Israel used U.S.-made bombs on that facility, David pressing President Biden on his relationship with Prime Minister Netanyahu.
Is Benjamin Netanyahu listening to you?
I think he's listening to me. They were going to go into Rafah full bore, invade all of Rafah, go into the city, take it out, move with full force. They haven't done that. And what they've done is they've agreed to a significant agreement.
Andrew, back to those 2 Israeli strikes on schools in Gaza. The IDF saying that they were intelligence-based and precise, adding that Hamas has been using those schools to carry out attacks. Andrew.
Marcus Moore for us in Israel tonight. Marcus, thank you. The latest jobs report displayed better than expected numbers and promising strength of the U.S. economy. Employers hired 272,000 workers this past May. However, the unemployment rate also ticked up to 4%, reaching that level for the first time since January 2022. The jobs report disclosed that inflation has fallen significantly from a peak of 9.1%, but it remains more than a percentage point higher than the Federal Reserve target rate of 2%. Next tonight, Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas acknowledging for the first time luxury trips he took back in 2019, trips that were paid for by a Republican billionaire. One of them, a vacation for him and his wife to the Indonesian island of Bali. Here's Chief Justice correspondent Pierre Thomas.
Tonight, for the first time, Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas formally disclosing lavish trips valued in thousands of dollars and paid for by billionaire and major GOP donor Harlan Crow. They included stays at a resort in Bali and the renowned Bohemian Grove Club in Monterey, California. Thomas says these were simply gifts that were personal hospitality from a friend, and he inadvertently omitted them from financial disclosure forms as required by law. But critics raised questions about the ethics and transparency of the court after information about the trips were first published by ProPublica. In today's amended release, Thomas did not disclose travel expenses, which included a private jet, nor did he disclose the cost of time spent on a yacht as he traveled in Asia. And financial disclosures also revealing 6-figure royalties or advances for books to 4 justices, including Ketanji Brown Jackson, who also disclosed gifts last year of more than $12,000 for art to decorate her chambers and concert tickets worth more than $3,700 provided by Beyoncé.
Pierre joins us now from the Supreme Court. Pierre, you mentioned financial disclosures from other justices. What about Justice Samuel Alito?
Well, today's filings are the first from the justices since the court released a code of conduct late last year. Justice Alito has yet to release his disclosure. He asked for an extension until later this summer, Andrew.
Pierre, thank you. In honor of National Gun Violence Awareness Day, hundreds of influencers and elected officials will participate in wearing the color orange and will kick off Wear Orange Weekend. According to the Gun Violence Archive, more than 600 children have been killed this year due to gun violence. The White House will be lit up in orange tonight, honoring victims and survivors of gun violence. Still much more to get to here on Prime, including the new warning from the FDA on viral bird flu and the safety of the U.S. milk supply, how to stay healthy. But next, our ABC News investigation into the drug trafficking hub of the world, Los Angeles International Airport. While bag screeners scan hundreds of thousands of bags and people every day, it's not their job to look for drugs, and the drug cartels know it. The latest investigation into a multi-billion-dollar smuggling operation right under our noses.
If you were coming of age in the 1980s, the Brat Pack was near the center of your cultural awareness. But for those of us experiencing it from the inside, the Brat Pack was something very different. On June 10th, 1985, New York Magazine published Hollywood's Brat Pack. I just remember seeing that cover and thinking, oh. From then on, my career and the career of everyone who was involved was branded to the Brat Pack.
I'm really sorry that article had to come out.
I've never talked to anybody about what that was like. So I thought it might be interesting to try and contact everyone who is in the Brat Pack. Hey, Emilio Estevez. This is Andrew McCarthy calling you. Hey, Allie. Hey, Demi. Hey, Molly. Let's call Rob. Hello? Judd? Me? You around? You were not interested in talking about the Brat Pack for years.
I turned everything down.
How come you're talking to me?
Because you called me. It was time that we clear the air on a couple of things.
I love your stuff, Bob. Hey, thank you. I hated the Brat Pack for decades. What a disaster. If you could have the Brat Pack name not exist, would you?
It really irritated me. They said, what's more important to you, the movie or your life? And I said,
the movie!
Andrew.
Have you talked to the others? The others, like, again, it feels like a cult or something.
Yeah. Why did we take it as an offense?
Well,
As opposed to like
a brat.
Because we were young.
We were afraid we were brats, you know? Are you in the Brat Pack?
I'm Brat Pack adjacent.
That's what I was saying.
I am not in the Brat Pack.
Crush on you back in the day?
You did not, Andrew. No, you did not.
Being in the Brat Pack not only changed all of our lives, it changed what entertainment is. I mean, I'm not gonna say we were the Beatles or anything.
Well, we didn't fill Shea Stadium. There were moments.
We could have. 1985. I think we could have.
So what are you filming?
Oh, we're just doing this documentary.
What's it about?
Ancient history.
When it matters most, America turns to David Muir and ABC's World News Tonight. Imagine your wife murdered. You were put in prison for over 30 years, but you didn't do it?
He's a cold-blooded, unrepentant murderer.
Leo's an innocent man. Tonight, the incredible new development.
Where would Leo need to be on the night of the murder?
A case 2020 has investigated for years. All comes down to this moment.
I really need it to happen.
All new 2020, tonight at 9/8 Central on ABC.
Welcome back. The U.S.-Mexico border is where the bulk of the attention goes when it comes to the flow of drugs into America, and for good reason. But a new ABC News investigation finds that our airports are in fact a major point of drug entry. More specifically, Los Angeles International Airport, which may be the drug trafficking hub of the world. Tonight's prime focus is from our partners at KABC and correspondent David Ono as he reports on the bag screening flaws that could be leading to a major influx of drugs nationwide.
LAX. 80 million people travel through here every year. Add to that another 50,000 credentialed workers per day, and you have an enormous, complicated ecosystem. And amidst all this energy is a massive problem that has been building for years, and nobody is talking about it.
Listen to me, folks.
Except for a sheriff 2,000 miles away. As a herd of cattle bask in the sun just outside of his office, longtime Polk County, Florida Sheriff Grady Judd delivers a sobering message to big city LA.
Over and over and over on these domestic airlines from LAX, through suitcases, drugs was smuggled here. That's right, look at this.
Through good police work, Sheriff Judd cracks an enormous drug ring and, in his own special way, illustrates the problem.
On one occasion, on one airline, 6 suitcases with this drug was smuggled into Orlando. They didn't so much as throw a pair of underwear in the suitcase to act like they were hiding the drugs. You think LAX has got a drug smuggling problem?
This investigation began 4 years ago, and little has changed.
What did you learn from this bust?
It's so easy not to be caught. We see drugs pouring out of LAX. The traffickers know this. This was not a one-off event. This was a everyday event during the operation. They use this multi-billion-dollar travel industry as their go-to to move drugs across this country. We would have to be naive not to think that there's other major smuggling operations going on just like this. And we're one county sheriff doing one investigation, and extrapolate that over the United States.
And we did. Sheriff Judd is right. Our investigation has uncovered drug cases across the U.S. and the globe, all originating out of LAX.
Welcome back to Sunrise. The AFP arrested 3 women who had flown in from Los Angeles, each with them accused of hiding around 10 kilograms of the drug in clothing in their luggage.
According to multiple law enforcement sources, LAX likely is the drug trafficking hub of the world. So this isn't Los Angeles' problem. It's everyone's, including Polk County, Florida. But who's responsible for stopping it?
Is TSA really the only entity that's capable of doing the policing?
No, it has to be everyone. TSA has got a monumental task in front of them. They screen thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of people, and do a really, really good job. But TSA can't do it all.
Our search authority is very, very narrow. We search for weapons, incendiaries, and explosives, and we want to keep those out of bags and off of planes.
Jason Pantages is the head of the TSA at LAX.
So how does searching for drugs play into the TSA?
So we don't search for narcotics. As I said, we search for weapons, incendiaries, and explosives.
Pantages says LAX is the busiest origination and destination airport in the world. They deal with hundreds of thousands of bags and people a day. He says searching for drugs cannot be part of their job.
We don't have the ability to do that because we're not law enforcement officials. We're transportation security officers. We can't search for criminal activity. It's not within what we're able to do with our search authority.
Understand that most bags are examined by TSA, but it may not be what you think. There's this screening process we all walk through to get on a plane. Through x-rays, the TSA looks inside our carry-ons. And then there's the bags we check in.
Those bags go through what we call an explosives detection system or an EDS machine. It's not like an x-ray machine at a checkpoint where an officer's looking at each individual bag.
In other words, there's no human looking inside. If the EDS machine doesn't detect explosives, the bag keeps moving. But there are occasions where the TSA does find drugs.
The first thing we would do is notify law enforcement.
That law enforcement is LAX PD.
Any crimes that are committed on the property, we investigate those crimes. We also, make sure the airport is secure.
LAX PD Chief Cecil Rambo has a long list of responsibilities, from checkpoints to theft to assaults to parking violations, and of course, illegally trafficked drugs. But looking into the hundreds of thousands of bags per day is not their job.
Are bags your responsibility?
No, bags are TSA.
So I have a team of agents who are assigned to LAX.
Matthew Allen is the special agent in charge of the DEA LA. His agents play a significant role in cracking down on drug smugglers at the airport.
And a lot of what they do is investigative, right? A lot of what they do is try to stop the narcotics before they ever actually even make it to LAX.
So part of the dilemma is if they're not going to look at the bags and when it comes to drugs, then who should be doing this?
We all have our roles to play, right? Screening is not the role of DEA.
As a general rule, if there's a call out for drugs at the airport, my team would not respond. We respond to very specific types of drug incidents at the airport.
David Gates is with the FBI. When it comes to drugs at LAX, they respond to only 2 kinds of crimes. When airport employees try to use their credentials to sneak drugs past checkpoints, or if illegal drugs are found on the cabin of a plane, but only if the doors to the cabin have been shut. If they are open, that's LAX PD.
It's complicated. It's complicated because this airport is so complicated.
We have approximately 40 special agents that reside there on a daily basis.
John Pachuco with Homeland Security, or HSI, says they have an army of agents at LAX helping to crack primarily international drug cases. Much like the DEA, their priority is investigation. They don't search through the masses of bags either.
It seems to be a gray area on who's really in charge of stopping drugs from going through LAX.
I think all the agencies that work there, I think we have a great working relationship. I think one of the main issues is just strictly volume.
You see the problem? Everyone is doing their job and doing it well. But it seems no entity is actually responsible for searching all those bags for drugs. Even the dogs at the airport, the majority are searching for explosives, not drugs. The cartels figured all this out years ago. And that's why we no longer see little Cessnas delivering drugs to secret airstrips.
We've not seen an airplane, a small airplane, fly into a clandestine strip in decades. The infrastructure's already in place. The drug dealers don't have to create the infrastructure. It's here.
Our thanks to KABC's David Ono. Still much more to get to. Coming up, the homeowner now turning to social media to find a suspected thief who ran right past a delivery driver to steal a package just seconds after it was dropped off on his own porch. But next, the end of an era. 41 years, 8,000 episodes later, Pat Sajak gets ready to say goodbye to Wheel of Fortune. We take a look at his celebrated career by the numbers.
I experienced a lot of rejection, a lot of heartache. I'm a tough woman, but it's not easy. You're gonna feel lonely. There was a lot of personal stuff in my life that was really falling apart. But Mom and Daddy didn't raise no quitter.
Not everybody makes it.
It's taken me a really long time to even get to this moment.
The CMA Award for Album of the Year for Female Vocalist of the Year.
Entertainer of the Year
Goes to Lainey
Wilson.
That was a mic drop. The Entertainer of the Year, baby. What she is doing right now is changing country music.
I'm proud of myself. I really am. I have worked my ass off. Now it's time to see what's next. I do see the bell bottoms and the hat as my superhero outfit.
If you could describe Diddy in one word, what would it be?
Mogul.
Powerful.
Hustler. Broken. And I feel like that's I feel kind saying that.
He definitely reached the mountaintop, and it seems like he's falling from it.
Disturbing video that shows Sean Diddy Combs kicking, shoving, and dragging his ex-girlfriend.
She was scared of him.
I think so.
Were you scared of him?
Yeah. My sense was that everybody around him was afraid of him.
Afraid of Sean Combs?
Yeah.
Why?
Because he's explosive.
Diddy's Downfall, now streaming on Hulu.
Are you ready to celebrate? Sunday, June 30th, across the country. See, experience some of the nation's greatest Pride celebrations, all in one place as they happen live, right here on ABC News Live. Pride across America. Celebrate joy, love, freedom, and pride. Sunday, June 30th, starting at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Streaming on ABC News Live and stream on Hulu.
I'm Anthony Mackie. Like most fishermen, sharks used to terrify me. If the shark gets too close, I should hit it in the nose.
Well, you don't need to hit it.
I'm on a quest to find out why these apex predators, that's amazing, are swiping fishermen's hard-earned catches. What? You saw that? Shark Beach with Anthony Mackie.
Woo! That's our fish.
Look at that.
Part of the sharkiest 4-week celebration this summer. Shark Fest starts June 30th at 9 on National Geographic.
Why do so many people start their day here?
From ABC News, this is Start Here.
To be in the know and get a different take on the day's top stories.
A lot of news today, so let's get into it.
Listen now to the Daily News Podcast honored with 4 Edward R. Murrow Awards and see why the New York Times calls it a news podcast worth listening to. Start Here, ABC News. Make it your daily first listen.
Now, that's a part of the story I bet you didn't see coming.
Wherever you get your podcasts, Start Here.
It's lunchtime in America, so what are we serving up?
Well, how about everything you need to know?
You know, that sounds pretty good.
You're your health, your money, breaking news, pop culture, with the biggest stars, music, trends, and of course, good food. GMA 3, what you need to know. A third hour of GMA in the afternoon.
So join us, afternoons.
For everything you need to know. I love that.
I'm Matt Rivers, traveling with the U.S. Secretary of State in Beijing, China. Wherever the story is, we'll take you there. You're streaming ABC News Live.
As this chapter of our lives is coming to an end, I know you'll still be close by. You're like a brother to me, and I consider you a true lifelong friend who I will always adore. I love you, Pat.
That, of course, was Wheel of Fortune's Vanna White talking about her co-host, Pat Sajak, who tonight takes his final spin on the show before Ryan Seacrest takes over. So how do you quickly sum up such a decorated run? We try to solve that puzzle in tonight's By the Numbers. Now 77 years old, Sajak retires after 41 seasons as host of the syndicated version of Wheel of Fortune. That's just over 8,000 episodes. Sajak passed Bob Barker of The Price is Right in 2019 for longest-running game show host. 20 million viewers tune in each week as of late last year, second in popularity only to Jeopardy! Sajak technically has been with the show since 1981 when it was still a network daytime show. During his time, Wheel has given away more than $324 million in cash and prizes, and Sajak himself has received 3 Daytime Emmy Awards for Outstanding Game Show Host. And while next season begins a new era for Wheel of Fortune, Sajak will be a consultant for the show for the next 3 years, and for now, Vanna White is sticking around. And much more ahead here on Prime, when comedy means so much more than a good time and a laugh. For generations, queer comedians have been driving social change through humor. We sit down with comedian and actor Tig Notaro for an intimate look at a revolution in comedy. And you have to see it to believe it. How this Camaro wound up dangling precariously from the 9th floor of a parking garage.
You're watching America's #1 streaming news, ABC News Live. Breaking news, exclusives, live reporting across the globe. Keep streaming with ABC News Live.
They call him the Beauty Queen Killer. He's targeting young women in malls, posing as a photographer. Police believe he will strike again.
I am single. I am still keen in life. I want to enjoy the company of a number of women.
A string of abductions and murders.
One of the most wanted fugitives for the FBI.
Across the country, young women disappeared.
He controlled me. He tortured me.
How are you feeling? Do you remember what happened? One day at the mall,
I noticed this man standing around with a camera, watching me. Handsome, charismatic, very persuasive. He approached me. He claimed that he could make me a model. This is the one point that I regret every second of my life. Boom, 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 boom.
it just changed like that.
He had his .45 pointed at me, and I never made it home.
I'm nervous for my family, nervous for every girl. I'm nervous for you.
I got my eyes taped shut. He started electrocuting me. You have to obey.
The word accomplice came up.
They insisted that Tina was involved.
Was she complicit, or was she a victim of it? It's very strange behavior.
I have never heard a story of a serial killer letting someone go. I'm wondering if you ever think, why?
Whether you believe me or not, it's my truth. Nobody knows the real story. I felt like there was no way you can escape. What do you do? How do you get out of it? What would you do?
The Beauty Queen Killer, 9 Days of Terror.
Streaming only on Hulu.
Biden takes executive action, tightens the border. Now, with outcry from critics, Homeland Security Secretary Mayorkas faces the tough questions. Sunday on ABC's This Week.
GMA Monday morning. We're turning back the clock to the 1980s. And we're even inviting you into the Brat Pack with original Brat Packer Andrew McCarthy and his new film everyone's talking about. Monday on GMA. With so much at stake, so much on the line, more Americans turn here than any other newscast. ABC News World News Tonight with David Muir, America's #1 most watched newscast across all of television.
A porch pirate steals a package before the delivery person has even left it. Some retail store employees will now be deployed with body cameras, and a car dangles precariously from the 9th floor of a parking garage. These stories and more in tonight's rundown.
Kia is recalling up to 463,000 Tellurides due to fire risk, according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. Owners are advised to park outside and away from structures until the repairs are complete. According to NHTSA, the front power seat motor may overheat due to a stuck power seat slide knob, which can result in a fire while parked or driving. Owners will be notified by July 30th. A homeowner in Columbus, Ohio is turning to social media to find a suspected thief who ran right past a delivery driver to steal a package just seconds after it was dropped off on the front porch.
While we're home, middle of the day, they didn't even wait for the delivery driver to leave the porch.
The brazen theft was captured on a doorbell camera Monday afternoon, just seconds after a FedEx driver dropped off an Apple Watch that Kyle Dorsch had ordered. He hopes social media can help get him justice. The FDA issued a nationwide warning today regarding the sale and consumption of raw milk. They recommend states alert the public of the potential health risks of consuming dairy products that have not been pasteurized. The agency acknowledged they don't know for certain if the bird flu virus can be transmitted to humans through raw milk, but bird flu fragments have been previously found in the U.S. milk supply. And the highly contagious bird flu virus has caused numerous outbreaks in poultry over the last 20 years and sporadic infections in humans. A 17-year-old student was fatally shot outside of a Seattle area high school Thursday afternoon while attempting to break up a fight. Police say there was an altercation on campus when the 17-year-old male victim attempted to break up the fight. They said the suspect, who was also a high school-aged male, pulled out a gun and shot the victim. Students were held inside the school on lockdown for approximately 3 hours while police secured the campus and looked for the suspect. Classes were canceled Friday and Monday.
I mean, I got to take her out or raise her somewhere outside of the city because this is not safe for our kids anymore.
Retail giant TJX will start rolling out body-worn cameras for some of its employees. The company, which operates TJ Maxx, Home Goods, and Marshalls, said, quote, body cameras are currently used by certain loss prevention associates who have gone through training on how to use the cameras effectively in their roles. Stores are grappling with an increase in thefts and have responded by locking more products behind glass cases and in some stores removing self-checkout options. Several roads in Charlotte, North Carolina were shut down due to a vehicle dangling from the 9th floor of a parking garage Thursday morning. A surveillance camera captured the moments that the car hit the garage, which then threw 2 metal grates to the ground. The vehicle was eventually pulled back into the garage before being towed away. An investigation revealed that the vehicle was left in neutral when it rolled into the side of the parking deck. No one was inside that vehicle, according to the Charlotte Fire Department. On social media, the department wrote that they stabilized the vehicle in 41 minutes, but they don't validate parking.
In America, a small percentage, less than 1%, of those 65 and older identify as transgender. Elders say the AIDS epidemic, violence, and fear have left fewer elders for the younger generation to look up to. But today's world is a stark contrast to the world they once lived in, and they're celebrating that freedom and progress and themselves.
I got beat up a lot. And at first I just ran. And then when I started to fight back, accompanied by broken fingers, you know what happens? You don't get bullied as much. Just because you get beaten, and I've been beaten many times, that doesn't mean you've been defeated. So many people, even people in my family, they would say, Renee, the way you walk down the street, you're putting yourself at risk, right? Why do you, present yourself like you do? Because you could be killed. And my answer to them is, if I present myself as somebody I'm not, they've already killed me. Sure, our community was smaller because the oppression was greater. It doesn't mean that the amount of people who would have fully blossomed had it not been for violence, oppression, ridicule. So it's refreshing now to see so many people now, come out. I mean, you even have trans politicians, for Christ's sake.
See you later, okay? I often get mad at myself. Why did I live so miserable for all those years? In Jamaica, that culture is very religious. You never saw any evidence of any other gender but male and female. And when I migrated here, my family in Brooklyn, I was 10 years old. And I didn't really think about it. I just knew that I was different. I didn't transition until I was in my 50s because even after college, it just didn't seem like it was feasible. Because you always hear about people who lived in the West, in California and so forth, perhaps transitioning, but it wasn't something that I really thought about pursuing. Yeah, I just lived miserable as a lesbian for many years.
Happy birthday, Chris!
It's a rebirth, because I almost feel like I'm a teenager most days, because I've lived this long life where the mirror did not reflect what I was feeling. I truly think that I was always trans. It's just that physically, when I looked in the mirror, that reflection wasn't coming back to me.
Greetings, people.
How are you?
I'm doing.
Getting older can sometimes be difficult as it is. Getting older as a trans person is even a little bit more so because of marginalization in society. When we look at the word marginalized, it's just so painful, especially as a transgender person. And seeing it in our older adults, they shouldn't have to closet themselves when they go into a nursing home or into social settings. Society should have just embraced us for who we are.
I'm not going to deny it. There was a time when I had my nails painted. I would wear gloves like if I was on the bus because I was obeying ignorant people. And now, well, how about this? I'll take my gloves off deliberately. And that's freedom. That's really freedom, because I don't care who you are on this earth. You make your freedom every day. Nobody gives it to you. And here's the other thing. When we talk about young people, I feel indebted to them, because I think of many older trans people, they weren't as out as they are now, and it's because the youth liberated them. I feel indebted, I really do. Sometimes I'll even tell someone who came out like a month ago, and I'll say, thank you for freeing me.
People try to dehumanize us as a people, as a group. We always come back and say, no, we're much more than that. I think that's what's scaring a lot of people, because they see that the youth are not just laying back and not saying anything. Find the courage that I found later, that I wish I had found earlier. Now, when I look in the mirror, it comes back to me. It gives me a new awakening in terms of how I feel about myself.
If you really feel it, you'll never be free until you do it. As long as you hide, you're in jail. Like I said, when you worry what other people think of you, you will always be their prisoner. Maybe in some ways, I live my everyday life in more danger, but more free than ever. How's that?
And we're tracking several headlines now around the world. 3 U.S. citizens are among 53 defendants facing a possible death sentence for their alleged involvement in a foiled coup attempt in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Congolese security forces foiled the attempted takeover May 19th when armed men briefly occupied the president's office in the capital. The suspects face various charges, including illegal arms possession, criminal conspiracy, and terrorism. Chinese drone maker DJI said it completed the world's first successful drone delivery on Mount Everest. The drone carried 3 oxygen bottles and 3 pounds of other supplies from Everest Base Camp. The company said it conducted rigorous tests to ensure the drone could handle the wind, frigid temperatures, and the weight. DJI said its drones will ease the burden on Sherpas who repeatedly risk their lives to deliver supplies. A cat sauntered peacefully across the stage during a performance by the Swiss Chamber Orchestra at the Istanbul Music Festival. The orchestra performed music by Beethoven and was praised by some music critics for their calm and quietly pastoral mood, a view clearly shared by that feline member of the audience who felt relaxed enough to amble past the musicians in the middle of a piece. Have queer comedians changed the world? To comedian and actor Tig Notaro, the answer is a resounding yes. Tig and an entourage of LGBTQ+ comedians explore this question in the first feature-length documentary to dive into the history of queer stand-up comedy. Outstanding, a comedy revolution spans 5 decades, uncovering how queer comedians drive social change through humor. Let's take a quick look.
It wasn't accepted to say you were gay on stage.
There was a time where comedy was very accepting of homophobia.
Queer people taught America to stop being scared of us by making jokes.
It's been such a journey.
There's a lot of people who've come before us.
Queer comics, queer history, that all deserves to be talked about.
And Tig Notaro joins us in studio. Thanks so much for being on with us, especially during Pride Month. Tell us what it was like to step into a project that resonates with you so personally.
Yeah, God, I've been doing stand-up for almost 30 years now, and there have been so many people that went before me, that paved the way, and it was just an incredible experience to be grouped in and looped in with all of these wonderful, hilarious performers, and just be a part of that. I mean, I guess just message of. I don't want to go into like we're here, we're queer, but yeah, it's incredible.
Now, you kind of mentioned it there. The film highlights the role that lesbians have played in the history of comedy. What do you think is unique about their contributions? And specifically, what do you want audiences to take away from this film?
Oh, my gosh. I think it's good for people to see the struggles and how far people have come. And there's so much more that we can go with all of this.
And you got to work with so many trailblazing comedians, not only on this project, but throughout your careers. How have they, and yourself, paved the way for the next generation of comics?
Well, I mean, you know, we have come so far, like I was saying, but we really, you know, there's been a few steps back. But I do think what's so exciting is that LGBTQ people and comedians are more so in mainstream. And I just think all of those little pushes of boundaries and just moving forward is helpful for all.
It's mentioned in the film that there was a time where homophobia was widely accepted in the comedic circles, and for stand-up comedians specifically. Did you feel that way for you coming up, and what do you think is different now?
I definitely felt that separation, you know. I think the comedy world it's a microcosm of the planet. And when I first started 28 years ago, it was like, you're a gay comic and you're doing gay cruises, you're doing gay clubs, and every now and then there'd be like a gay-themed night at a mainstream club.
But now I feel like it's really just kind of, I think you're more likely to see LGBTQ performers on just any regular night on any show.
Yeah. As we get ready to wrap up here, I wanted to ask you about Pride Month, how you celebrate, and also a little anecdote I heard you share that your kids didn't even know recently that you were gay.
Yeah, they are almost 8, and they knew they had 2 mommies. They knew we were married, but it was absolutely shocking to find out 3 minutes before we dropped them off at school that they overheard us talking about being gay and interrupted, like, "You're gay?" Like, yes. It was shocking. So this year we're going to be celebrating by talking more specifically about our family.
But not in the carpool lane.
Not in the carpool lane.
3 minutes before school.
Oh my gosh, it was insane.
Really quickly, just changing gears here. It's ironic that Pat Sajak's last show on Wheel of Fortune is tonight. I know you were on Wheel of Fortune.
Yes.
Somewhat rather famously, I loved your answer.
Crashing my exorcist bill.
Pat was a good sport about it. Any thoughts on his retirement?
This is the first I'm hearing about it. Who's replacing him?
Ryan Seacrest.
Oh.
Yeah. Vanna White's going to stay, though.
How does he even have time to take on another job?
I always wonder that myself.
He must be a robot. Listen, I'm all for retiring and having a nice, smooth life. So I wish him the best.
All right, Tig, such a pleasure speaking with you. Outstanding, A Comedy Revolution will release on Netflix on June 18th. That's our show for this hour. I'm Andrew Dimbert. Stay tuned to ABC News Live for more context and analysis of the day's top stories. Thanks for streaming with us. And coming up in the next hour, more than 500 anti-LGBTQ+ bills were proposed in 2023 and 2024. The attack on the gender-expansive community so urgent that the Human Rights Campaign declared a national state of emergency. But as we celebrate Pride, there is reason to have hope. And the impossible city. As Paris prepares for the Summer Olympic Games, author and journalist Simon Cooper brings us a local's view of Paris beyond the cliches.
Here's to Good Mornings in America.
Can you feel the love? Oh, yeah.
Mornings that inspire, filled with hope, kindness, joyous surprises, and so much fun.
This is crazy. This is absolutely crazy.
Start your day with Good Morning America's ray of sunshine, highlighting the best of America and helping
make dreams come true. Wow. I'm just so happy. It is so good.
Get ready to smile and put the good into your morning, America, because
you know what will make the morning better? A little ray of sunshine.
Are you ready to celebrate? Sunday, June 30th, across the country. See, experience some of the nation's greatest Pride celebrations all in one place as they happen live right here on ABC News Live. Pride across America. Celebrate joy, love, freedom, and pride. Sunday, June 30th, starting at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Streaming on ABC News Live and stream on Hulu.
What does it take to be the most watched newscast in America?
An operation to capture ISIS fighters.
Is this our Combat Operations Center?
We're approaching the gate now. Militants came in from 4 or 5 different directions. Operational nuclear reactor. So you have a couple loaded and ready to go. The house is destroyed, but the flag, there's not a tear in it.
Not a tear in it.
How important is this label right here, Made in the USA? Look at your smile. You're proud of this.
I love this.
Great work. Hi. Where are you? Where are you? Appreciate you.
Thank you, David. Good to meet you.
Ismail? David.
David.
Yes, yes. I'm David Muir.
I know who you are.
You
I watch
do?
you every night.
ABC's World News Tonight with David Muir is America's most watched newscast.
All right, let the dogs out, please.
I don't think he's going to give you a hard time.
Even if he gives me a hard time, I'm the right guy.
I want to make sure that we all learn together.
Calm, confident.
Calm, confident, calm, surrender.
Everything that he's taught has become a reality.
Yeah.
We are so grateful and impressed.
I feel like crying.
You changed our world.
It is a beautiful thing to see. As you rehabilitate the dog, you also rehabilitate you.
It's lunchtime in America, so what are we serving up?
Well, how about everything you need to know?
You know, that sounds pretty good.
Give it to me. Your health, your money, breaking news, pop culture with the biggest stars, music, trends, and of course, good food. GMA 3, what you need to know. A third hour of GMA in the afternoon.
So join us, afternoons.
For everything you need to know. I love that.
Reporting from Monterey Park, California, I'm Robin Roberts. Wherever the story is, we're going to take you there. You're streaming ABC News live.
Good evening, everyone. This is ABC News Live Prime. I'm Andrew Dimbert in for Lindsay Davis. Thanks so much for streaming with us. We've got a lot of news to get to this evening, including strong remarks on the world stage from the President of the United States, putting in stark terms democracy on the line as he urged unity against the rise of authoritarianism. What the president said and how he's connecting it to what the U.S. is now seeing heading into November. Plus, the FBI files of O.J. Simpson finally revealed what we're now learning. And technology to the summit. A drone takes on the treacherous terrain of Mount Everest on a mission to deliver oxygen and supplies to base camp. But we begin with President Biden's message to the world and his warning to the American people as world leaders gather in Normandy to mark this 80th anniversary of D-Day. The president speaking at the top of the 100-foot cliff that Army Rangers scaled under gunfire, saying those soldiers would expect us to fight for democracy and stand with our allies, drawing a direct line from World War II to Russia's war in Ukraine.
And make no mistake, the autocrats of the world are watching closely to see what happens in Ukraine, to see if we let this illegal aggression go unchecked. We cannot let that happen.
Biden also spoke about a united front against authoritarianism and Putin's war and a promise from France's president to support Ukraine by whatever means necessary. ABC's chief White House correspondent Mary Bruce traveling with the president, leading us off from Paris tonight.
In Normandy today, standing on the very cliffs Army Rangers scaled to liberate Europe from the Nazis, President Biden declaring the voices of those soldiers are once again calling Americans to action.
They are summoning us, and they're summoning us now. They ask us, what will we do? They're not asking us to scale these cliffs, but they're asking us to stay true to what America stands for.
He didn't mention Donald Trump by name, but clearly cast Trump's isolationist America First stance as an affront to the men who sacrificed on D-Day.
They stormed the beaches alongside our allies. Does anyone believe these Rangers would want America to go it alone today?
The president insisting the men who fought and died on these beaches 80 years ago would want America to defend Ukraine now in its war against Russia.
They stood against Hitler's aggression. Does anyone doubt that they would want America to stand up against Putin's aggression here in Europe today?
Earlier, Biden meeting with Ukrainian President Zelensky, apologizing for the delay in approving new military aid and blaming Republicans.
I apologize for those weeks of not knowing what's going to happen in terms of funding. Some of our very conservative members who were holding it up. But we got it done finally.
For Biden, the war in Ukraine, the path towards reestablishing the United States as the leader of the free world.
My fellow Americans, I simply refuse to believe that America's greatness is a thing of the past.
Our thanks to Mary Bruce. Now to another president, Donald Trump, speaking about retribution after his felony conviction in New York, saying sometimes revenge can be justified. Asked if that would include prosecuting his opponents, suggesting it's something he's considering. ABC's Rachel Scott covering the Trump campaign.
Tonight, back on the campaign trail for the first time since he was convicted of 34 criminal counts, former President Donald Trump increasingly focused on revenge.
I just went through a rigged trial in New York.
In a series of interviews, Trump implying that if he's reelected, he will seek payback against Democrats, including Joe Biden.
Look, when this election is over, based on what they've done, I would have every right to go after them. And it's easy because it's Joe Biden.
In an interview with Dr. Phil, he doubled down.
You have so much to do, you don't have time to get even. You only have time to get right.
Well, revenge does take time, I will say that.
It does.
And sometimes revenge can be justified, Phil. I have to be honest. You know, sometimes it can.
In another interview, dodging a question about whether he would order the Justice Department to prosecute Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg, who brought the case that led to his conviction, saying, quote, "We're going to see what happens." In Normandy, President Biden telling David Trump is undermining the rule of law.
What do you think the American people should make of this? How important do you think this conviction should be in this race for president?
That's for the public to decide, but one thing for certain is stop undermining the rule of law. Stop undermining the institutions. That's what this whole effort is. All the MAGA Republicans are coming out saying this was a fix, this was a jury that this was a judge that set up to get Trump. There's no evidence of any of that, none. He's trying to undermine it. Look, he got a fair trial. The jury spoke like they speak in all cases, and it should be respected.
Rachel Scott reporting. Rachel, thank you. Next tonight, Hunter Biden tearing up at his federal gun charge trial while listening to testimony from his daughter Naomi. The defense saying they are down to that last decision, alluding as to whether Hunter Biden himself will take the stand. Here's senior national correspondent Terry Moran.
For Hunter Biden, it was a day of deeply personal, anguishing testimony in his federal trial on gun charges. His daughter Naomi was called to the witness stand by the defense to help challenge the government's charges that her father lied about his drug use on a federal form when he bought a gun in 2018. As Naomi testified in a subdued voice, her father appeared to be fighting back tears watching her. Now a 30-year-old lawyer, Naomi told jurors that when she saw her father while he was in rehab in California in August 2018, a few weeks before he purchased the gun, he seemed like the clearest that I had seen him since my uncle died, referring to Beau Biden, who died in 2015. And when she saw him a week after he bought the gun, her dad seemed great. He seemed hopeful. That bolsters the defense case that when he bought the gun, Hunter Biden was not abusing drugs. But a starkly different picture emerged on cross-examination as prosecutor Leah Wise confronted Naomi Biden with desperate text messages she sent her dad just 6 days after he bought that gun. "I'm really sorry, Dad. I can't take this. I just miss you so much. I just want to hang out with you." Hunter texting back, "I'm sorry I've been so unreachable. It's not fair to you." As Naomi left the stand, she and her father embraced. Sitting in the courtroom, the First Lady, who flew back from Normandy overnight to be at the trial, where she's been nearly every day. And in France, President Biden telling David in an exclusive interview that he will not pardon his son.
I know that you cannot speak about an ongoing federal prosecution, but let me ask you, will you accept the jury's outcome, their verdict, no matter what it is?
Yes.
And have you ruled out a pardon for your son?
Yes.
Our thanks to Terry Moran. Now to the Israel-Hamas war. For the second day in a row, an Israeli airstrike targeting a Gaza school today in northern Gaza. ABC's Marcus Moore is in Israel tonight.
For the second straight day, a deadly Israeli airstrike on a UN school in Gaza. At least 3 people killed, 15 more injured, according to the Hamas-run health ministry. The IDF saying it targeted Hamas terrorists operating inside school grounds in northern Gaza. It comes just 24 hours after Israel bombed another UN school in central Gaza, saying Hamas militants were inside. The Hamas-run health ministry saying that strike killing at least 40 people, including 14 children. After munitions experts told ABC News Israel used U.S.-made bombs on that facility, David pressing President Biden on his relationship with Prime Minister Netanyahu.
Is Benjamin Netanyahu listening to you?
I think he's listening to me. They were going to go into Rafah full bore, invade all of Rafah, go into the city, take it out, move with full force. They haven't done that. And what they've done is they've agreed to a significant agreement.
Marcus, thank you. A small plane crashed into a Denver area neighborhood. Witnesses say the plane was flying low and weaving back and forth before coming down in a front yard. Here's ABC's Mola Langi with the details and the latest on the victims.
Tonight, smoking wreckage in a Denver suburb. 2 adults and 2 children rushed to the hospital after their plane crashed in a neighborhood front yard.
We're going to have multiple patients here. Go ahead and bring us another medic unit.
Neighbors scrambling to put out the flames in Arvada, Colorado, just after 9:30 this morning.
There are a lot of good Samaritans around, either assisting those people out of the plane or assisting them away from the plane, because there was a large amount of fire after the crash.
Eric Garcia was with his 2-year-old son when he saw the plane wobbling and gliding before it crashed.
As soon as I arrived to the scene, I seen the bodies on the floor, unfortunately.
Listen as the pilot of the Beechcraft single-engine plane tells the tower he's having engine trouble.
I'm losing power quickly. I might have to put it down somewhere. Do you see anywhere that's safe for you to land? I'm trying to find a field or a park. I've got something in sight. I don't know where I am.
There was so much fuel on board late today after the scene was cleared, it reignited. Firefighters beating back the flames once again.
Mola, thank you. The FBI today released 475 pages related to O.J. Simpson. The NFL Hall of Fame running back died in April and was acquitted in 1995 of charges he killed his ex-wife and her friend. The documents focus on the investigation into the 1994 stabbing deaths of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman and include handwritten notes along with evidence collected by the FBI. The file shows the FBI even traveled to Italy to study the Bruno Magli shoes Simpson was accused of wearing at the time of the stabbings. Still much more to get to. Coming up, technology to the summit. A drone takes on the treacherous terrain of Mount Everest on a mission to deliver oxygen and supplies to base camp. But next, the Swiss Chamber Orchestra had a surprise visitor during their performance at the Istanbul Music Festival. But don't worry, curiosity did not kill the cat or the concert.
Coming of age in the 1980s, the Brat Pack was near the center of your cultural awareness. But for those of us experiencing it from the inside, the Brat Pack was something very different.
I'm really sorry that article had to come out.
I just remember seeing that cover and thinking, oh. So I thought it might be interesting to try and contact everyone who is in the Brat Pack. You were not interested in talking about the Brat Pack. I turned everything down. How come you're talking to me? Because it was time that we clear the air on a couple of things. Whoa. I hated the Brat Pack for decades. What a disaster.
Why did we take it as an offense?
We're afraid we were brats, you know?
Andrew?
I mean, I'm not going to say we were the Beatles or anything.
Well, we didn't fill Shea Stadium. There were moments.
We could have. 1985, I think we could have.
If you could describe Diddy in one word, what would it be?
Mogul.
Powerful.
Hustler. Broken. And I feel like that's I feel kind saying that.
He definitely reached the mountaintop, and it seems like he's falling from it.
Disturbing video that shows Sean Diddy Combs kicking, shoving, and dragging his ex-girlfriend.
She was scared of him.
I think so.
Were you scared of him?
Yeah. My sense was that everybody around him was afraid of him.
Afraid of Sean Combs?
Yeah.
Why?
Because he's explosive.
Diddy's Downfall, now streaming on Hulu.
Let's go. The ship is incredible. It feels like living in a science fiction movie.
We just saw what no one has seen before.
Wow, look at that.
Oh my gosh.
Well, dead ahead. Hang on!
We are heading into the unknown.
Hammer, hammer, hammer. It doesn't get any more cutting edge than this.
Reporting from the war in Ukraine, I'm Ian Pannell. Wherever the story is, we'll take you there. You're streaming ABC News Live.
We're tracking several headlines around the world. 3 U.S. citizens are among 53 defendants facing a possible death sentence for their alleged involvement in a foiled coup attempt in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Congolese security forces foiled the attempted takeover May 19th when armed men briefly occupied the president's office in the capital. The suspects face various charges, including illegal arms possession, criminal conspiracy, and terrorism. Chinese drone maker DJI said it completed the world's first successful drone delivery on Mount Everest. The drone carried 3 oxygen bottles and 3 pounds of other supplies from Everest Base Camp. The company said it conducted rigorous tests to ensure the drone could handle the wind, frigid temperatures, and the weight. DJI said its drones will ease the burden on Sherpas who repeatedly risk their lives to deliver supplies. And a cat sauntered peacefully across the stage during a performance by the Swiss Chamber Orchestra at the Istanbul Music Festival. The orchestra performed music by Beethoven and was praised by some music critics for their calm and quietly pastoral mood, a view clearly shared by that feline member of the audience who felt relaxed enough to just amble past the musicians in the middle of a piece. Back home, we want to take a deeper look now at the movement to show up for the LGBTQ+ community, especially ahead of the presidential election. And so we're joined by Human Rights Campaign President Kelly Robinson. Kelly, thanks for being here with us. I want to get right into some new research that the Human Rights Campaign has published that puts some hard numbers behind trends in anti-LGBTQ+ legislation. Tell us what you're seeing in that data.
Look, the state of the LGBTQ+ community, it's strong and it's resilient. So last year, we, for the first time in the organization's history, declared a national state of emergency for LGBTQ+ people. Now, I got to be clear that many people are experiencing a lot of harm. I talked to pediatricians who are receiving death threats. I talked to teachers and drag queens who are being met with AR-15s when they go to work. This is real and it's serious. But what I'm also seeing is that the tides are beginning to turn. This year, still we saw a record level of introduction of bad bills, but nearly none of them made it across the finish line. A state like Georgia wasn't able to pass a single bad bill attacking our community into law. That didn't happen by accident. That happened because we showed up. We showed up powerfully, and we made it clear that we weren't going to accept attacks on any members of our community, not now and not ever.
With some of those pieces of legislation not making it across the finish line, as you mentioned, what does that tell you for the future in case other pieces of similar legislation are brought to the fold?
You know, it tells me that there's hope here. You know, as hard as the world is right now, I want folks, especially my community, to be clear that we are not without hope and we are certainly not without power. These things aren't happening because we're weak. They're happening because we're strong. Look, across the country, we've identified 75 million voters that prioritize LGBTQ+ issues when deciding who to vote for. 75 million. That's equivalent to the number of people in every battleground state combined. This is huge. Our job is to make sure that those people know what's at stake and have the tools and resources to turn out to the polls. Because when we show up, when all of us show up, equality wins every single time.
In broad strokes, what should people know about what's in the legislation, in some of the legislation across the country? What is at stake here?
Look, they're attacking every part of our community. I mean, I see bans on access to health care, drag bans, book bans trying to make its way across the country, bathroom bans, something we haven't seen at this volume since, you know, the 2010s. But the other threat is really happening federally. We've got to be clear that when you look at the presidential election, this isn't just a race between two candidates. This is a race between two fundamentally versions of this country. Let's be clear. Donald Trump installed a conservative Supreme Court that not only overturned Roe v. Wade, but said the quiet parts out loud. The next, the court should revisit Obergefell and Lawrence, cases that fundamentally protect our rights in this country. In this moment, we have to be clear that the progress of the last 40 years, the progress of the last 50 years, it's fragile and it's all on the line. So this election could not be more important if you care about the LGBTQ+ community, if you're a member of our community, because this election is the election that will determine our futures.
And Kelly, you touched on it for a minute. I want to go back. You said that the Human Rights Campaign declared a national state of emergency last year for LGBTQ+ people of the United States. What impact did you want to make with a move like that?
We wanted to elevate the crisis. You know, so many bills are moving across the country. It's easy to believe that this is only happening in a state or two, or to feel isolated in your experience. But what we're actually seeing is a coordinated attack from our opposition. There are forces out there like the Alliance Defending Freedom, like the American Principles Project, who are saying the quiet parts out loud, that they are attacking our community because they're trying to use us as a political wedge. We cannot let that happen. We have to see them clearly for what they are and respond in kind. We have to build a movement that doesn't just protect our rights today, but advances equality moving forward.
So with that said, how are you trying to reach voters on these issues, particularly voters who have not supported the gender expansive community maybe in the past?
Look, we're at a unique moment. There is so much opportunity in front of us. Look, right now, Generation Z, a third of them identify as members of the community, a third. What that means is every single day, there are 2,200 Americans who identify as LGBTQ that are turning 18 years old. That also means that there are more allies than ever before as these folks feel empowered and safe to come out as fully who they are. So in this moment, we have to be clear that this is a time where we don't have to settle. We don't have to pretend that we are small. We have to embrace our power. And anyone that's feeling scared or feeling anxious right now, the antidote to that anger is taking action. There are things that you can do to talk to people in your community, to tell your story, to give resources to organizations like ours or candidates that you care about, because it does make a difference and it will matter.
Kelly Robinson, thank you so much for joining us. And still to come, say what you will about Paris. Its cantankerous residents, neglected suburbs, are grappling with multiculturalism. There is no city like it, and soon the Olympics will come to town. Journalist and author Simon Cooper joins us and shares his inner thoughts about this impossible city.
Here's to Good Mornings in America.
Can you feel the love?
Oh, yeah. Mornings that inspire, filled with hope, kindness, joyous surprises, and so much fun.
This is crazy. This is absolutely crazy.
Start your day with Good Morning America's Ray of Sunshine, highlighting the best of America and helping
Make dreams come true.
Wow.
I'm just so happy. It's so good.
Get ready to smile and put the good into your morning, America, because
You know what will make the morning better? A little ray of sunshine.
Hi, I'm Andy. And I'm Sabrina. And we're moms, juggling tons of stuff every day, like all you moms out there. And you know what we love? Really love? Pop culture. So listen now to our new podcast, Pop Culture Moms, wherever you get your podcasts.
Tonight,
He's a cold-blooded murderer.
Leo's an innocent man. The stunning new development in a case we've investigated for years all comes down to this moment.
I really need it to happen.
2020, tonight on ABC.
I experienced a lot of rejection, a lot of heartache. I'm a tough woman, but it's not easy. You're gonna feel lonely. There was a lot of personal stuff in my life that was really falling apart. But Mom and Daddy didn't raise no quitter.
Not everybody makes it.
It's taken me a really long time to even get to this moment.
And the CMA Award for Album of the Year for Female Vocalist of the Year.
Entertainer of the Year
Goes to Lainey
Wilson.
That was a mic drop.
The Entertainer of the Year, baby! What she is doing right now is changing country music.
I'm proud of myself. I really am. I have worked my ass off. Now it's time to see what's next. I do see the bell bottoms and the hat as my superhero outfit.
You're watching America's #1 streaming news. Live reporting, breaking new exclusives. Keep streaming with ABC News Live.
For over 2 decades, he has seen Paris evolve both culturally and demographically. And now, as the city gears up to host the Olympics, Paris is once again transforming while still keeping its traditions. The book Impossible City tells a memoir of Paris through the eyes of an expat, navigating how to become a true Parisian. A father and a journalist from Financial Times, Simon Cooper, joins us to share what it's like living in this impossible city. Thanks for being with us today. You moved to Paris over 2 decades ago. What's the biggest transformation you've seen in Paris?
Like so many cities, it's got a lot richer and more expensive and gentrified. So everything is perfect now. Even the coffee is perfect. Paris used to not be good at that. It's become a bicycling city as well from having been a car city when I arrived. So yeah, I suppose rich people on bikes is much more the vibe now than it was 20 years ago.
You mentioned some of the ways you integrated into society, meeting parents at local French schools, attending play dates, and getting to know your neighborhood. At one point, you saw a replication of your own immigrant childhood. Tell us about that experience.
Yeah, so I grew up in the Netherlands. My parents were immigrants, so they didn't learn the language brilliantly. I spoke it better because I was at a Dutch school. And now I began to see that again with my children. They learned French from babyhood on. They went to the crèche from age 1, which is very normal here. And so they understood how Parisians think and how Parisians drive through red lights. and they understand French slang in ways that I never will. And that's one of the things that happens in immigrant families, whether it's in New York or Paris. The children learn the society quicker than the parents.
And you've witnessed some of the historic moments like the Notre Dame fire, terrorist attacks, and of course the pandemic. What kind of shift did you see in the city, and how would you say you've changed from these incidents?
I think the pandemic was the main thing that set us on track to push the car out and become a cycling city. Seeing Notre Dame in flames, I mean, you showed those images, I saw it from my balcony 6 years ago, was an enormous shock because you saw that how fragile this city is. It's this beautiful city. It's also a city where 12 million people of different origins live together, and where, you know, even the most ancient symbol of French civilization can burst into flames one day to the next. So I think we live with that perfection and that fragility. And then so many people in such a tiny space, it's a denser city than New York, that it's just very, very difficult to manage this every day.
And the difficulties of managing this, Paris is going to have to get it going because it's set to host the Olympics next month. How is the city preparing for this big event? And tell us about the Grand Paris Project.
Yeah, so the city, I think, is very anxious about the Olympics. The threat of terrorism is high. There's the threat from Islamist organizations always, but also now from Russia. So a Russian-Ukrainian man who had been in the Russian army was arrested when his device exploded accidentally on Monday. The thought he might be trying to attack the D-Day ceremony or maybe preparing for the Olympics. So there's a great anxiety about how do you safeguard a city for 2 weeks, a city which in my time here has seen terrible terrorist attacks. I mean, in my own neighborhood, we had the Bataclan attacks of 2015. And so I think there's a lot of anxiety. The other big change that's happening that you mentioned is Grand Paris. The idea, for the first time in history, of knitting together the city and the suburbs. There's always been this enormous disconnect, more than any other city I know, between the city inside the ring road and the suburbs. Paris is now building 68 new metro stations. Some of them are going to open for the Olympics in the next month or so. Imagine that in New York City, say 68 new subway stations, and that will totally transform the ease of getting around this metropolis. Whatever suburb you live in, you'll be very near a metro, and so it's going to turn this city of 2 million really into a city of 12 million.
With that said, what's the buzz and all the excitement like around Paris and those suburbs as they get ready to host the Olympics?
I don't see much excitement at the moment. I see a lot of fear, a lot of complaining as well. So the security measures are such that if you live near the river, the opening ceremony is supposed to be along the river, that you won't be able to leave your house without all sorts of passes. You won't be able to allow to invite friends to your house in the days around the opening ceremony. There's going to be police everywhere. There's going to be 10 or 15 million people visiting this really quite small city. So I have yet to see much excitement.
All right, Simon, thank you so much for joining us. Impossible City, Paris in the 21st Century is now available wherever books are sold. That's our show for tonight. I'm Andrew Dimbert. ABC News Live is here for you all night with the latest news, context, and analysis. You can always find us on Hulu, Roku, Pluto TV, the ABC News app, and, of course, on abcnews.com.
Are you ready to celebrate Sunday?